Mindful Life Practice community.
I'll meet you on my mat before we get started, and we'll do the first little bit of stretching on our backs. So if you want to get comfortable in a reclined position of your choice, or even starting out right on your back, feeling free to do so. And I'll meet you in a few moments on my mat. So good evening and welcome everyone to your 60-minute slow flow practice. My name is Marie and I'm so happy to be sharing this time across time zones and countries and space, all together to come together and nurture ourselves through mindful breath and mindful movement, and to slow down, to flow down, and to find maybe a sense of ease or expansion or anything else that you'd like to bring and to cultivate on the mat today. And as you're getting settled in your position of choice, softening the gaze or closing the eyes if you feel comfortable to do so. Taking the next few breaths just to arrive in your body. Perhaps lengthening the inhale, lengthening the exhale. And doing so, allowing your body to soften into the ground. Inviting some ease and relaxation from your head all the way down to your toes. And taking the next few moments, set a personal intention for your practice. Be any and all of the qualities that I've already mentioned that I'll try to bring for a routine, or anything else that you'd like to invite. Breathing with it for the next few moments. Using that intention as a reminder as you move through the poses and transitions, reminding yourself to embody that intention. Taking 3 more full breaths in silence and stillness. before we start to wriggle ourselves awake, just want to remind you to make this practice your own, to listen to the feedback of your body and of your breath, make adjustments or changes to the poses that I'll be inviting us to adopt tonight. So whenever you're ready, start to deepen the breath. And in that, inspire some gentle movements into the fingers and toes, into the back of the head, letting those gentle movements ripple through all our limbs and our torso. Next, if you haven't already, I'll invite us to find a full body stretch. So zipping the legs together and circling the arms above the head. Taking any sounds or letting out any sighs. Exhaling any remainders of your day away. And from here, we'll find a banana stretch as our first pose. So staying fully stretched, we can walk the heels over to the right corner of the mat, perhaps crossing the left foot over the right. Leaving the hips where they are, you can slowly walk the shoulders toward the right top corner of the mat, perhaps holding on to the left wrist. And just relaxing and breathing into this side body stretch. Taking the next few breaths, gently uncross and walk ourselves back to center before moving over to the left. Or perhaps crossing the right ankle over the left and holding on to the right wrist. And softening into this shape and breathing with this stretch. And taking the next breath to come back to center. And then maybe circling the arms down to come by the side at 45 degrees, or perhaps resting the hands onto the stomach. Invite us to bend our knees and find the width of the mat with the soles of the feet, knees pointing up. Next, we can exhale the knees over to the left. And find a few breaths here. You finding your breathing with that stretch in the front of the right thigh, perhaps adding the weight of the left foot onto the right thigh to deepen the sensation. And the head can fall gently over to the right. Whenever you're ready, releasing that side, turning the knees to center and then letting them fall over to the right. Perhaps staying here, adding the weight of the right foot onto the left thigh. And softening and relaxing, allowing the body to receive that stretch. And breathing here for a few moments. Releasing the right foot back down on the ground, and then maybe curling it into a little ball onto our right side. So stacking the legs, we tucking the right shoulder under or using it as a pillow. And perhaps inviting our intention with the next full breath. Mm, slowly pushing and propping ourselves up to find a seat, and then we'll all meet onto our hands and knees. Maybe removing a layer. And perhaps finding some padding under the knees if they feel tender tonight. And here, from a tabletop shape, maybe rocking front to back or side to side to find a little bit of gentle movement, awakening the wrists, awakening the hips and the knees. Just allowing the body to move freely. When you feel ready, you can find stillness into the tabletop shape. So pressing, opening and fanning the fingers out to press the ground away from us with the hands, knees, and feet. Next, we'll take a few rounds of cat and cow. So inhaling to curl the tailbone up, elongating the front body and looking up. Then exhaling to round and go in reverse, letting the head and neck go. Inhaling to curl up into our cow. And exhaling to round into our cat. Doing 3 or 4 more rounds following your own breath. Noticing the sensation. Perhaps lingering anywhere that feels needed, like it needs a little bit more attention. And after our next round, we can all meet into a strong table shape. You have the option to stay here and to just work on this foundation, working on our alignment. We can do a little bit of balancing and core work. So first, we can elongate the left leg behind us, curling the toes under, and perhaps lifting that leg. I'm trying to picture, so engaging into the core, pressing that heel or flexing that heel. And finding engagement all the way from the trunk to the toes, staying here, or lifting the left arm up. So opening out the fingertips, balancing onto the points of contact, and staying here or taking rest. So we can flow 3 times following our breath. So we can inhale from this lengthened position, and then exhale to curl under for the elbow and knee to meet. Taking 2 more like this, inhaling to stretch out long and exhaling to curl. Doing 1 more like that, inhaling to stretch and exhaling to curl. Maybe inhaling to stretch once more, and then returning our hand and knee onto the ground. And here, finding stillness for our breaths, or doing any movements that your right arm or left leg may be craving. And we'll move on to the other side whenever you're ready. So perhaps first stretching out that left leg long, inhaling it up into the air, pressing the ground away, engaging the core, flexing the foot. Perhaps the right arm travels up too. And staying here or flowing 3 times with our breaths. Inhaling long and exhaling knee to elbow. And doing 2 more following your own breath. Whenever you're complete, finding the ground with the hands and knees. And next we'll curl the toes under and push and press yourselves back into a reverse V or a downward dog shape, and taking any movement that may feel good. Maybe it's finding stillness right away or pedaling the feet, swaying the hips. And again, as we did in our table, we pressing the ground away from us with our hands and our toes and the balls of our feet. Trying to find that balance between effort and ease into our shape. We can find 1 full breath into our downward dog. Next, we can inhale to look between the hands and coming down with the knees, and then we'll step to the top of the mat. So taking 2 big steps or many steps to find the top of the mat. Then we'll land into our forward fold. So we can have a generous bend into the knees, folding at the hips and letting the torso waterfall over the legs. Finding stillness right away, or perhaps hooking the thumbs into the elbows and swaying side to side. Releasing the elbows if you are swaying. We'll take a few breaths to press into the ground and slowly roll up the stand. Maybe taking it extra slow tonight. Just noticing and breathing with the sensations. Once we found our mountain, maybe first doing that bamboo into the wind, so maybe swaying on all surfaces of the feet, kind of going around into a circle. So the weight going back in the heels to one side, into the toes and the other side. Maybe doing 1 or 2 circles in the opposite direction. And then widening the stance a little bit. Maybe bringing a little bit of bounce, so maybe coming onto the toes and bouncing a few times the heels onto the ground. Also letting the head be part of that movement. Well, oftentimes my body and my head are on different agendas. So to release the head and neck doesn't come naturally. And then landing back into this shape. Could take a few rounds of swaying side to side, kind of qigong movement. So letting the arms travel around the torso, swaying hip to hip. Maybe letting the back of the hands tap onto the lower back. And perhaps the heels come up as we move side to side. And again, letting the shoulder, the head and neck be part of that motion. And then we can slowly slow down that movement and land back into stillness, into our mountain. So we can inhale to circle the arms up above, bring the palms together, and then bring the right toe to touch the left big toe. Taking 1 more inhale here in this shape. Then we can exhale to side bend over to the right. So keeping the legs engaged, the torso long, kind of picturing our shoulders in line with one another, heart still shining forward. Inhaling ourselves back to center before exhaling over to the left. Feeling and breathing into this length and alignment. We can inhale ourselves back to center, finding a bit more length. Then separating the hands, we can exhale to find our chair. Again, balancing the weight into the feet, not all into the heels, but also in the toes. Maybe sitting the seat a little bit lower down and keeping that length into the torso, into the spine. Taking one more inhale here. Then we can exhale to circle the arms down, hands finding the top of the thighs. Then we'll take a few circles with the knees. Maybe over to the right to start. And then switching directions over to the left. And like still tapping into that strength of our chair pose, but bringing motion and lotion into the knees, into the ankles, and into the hips. And staying into our chair, inhaling to give your break or your legs a break. And if not, we'll stay here and we do a few rounds of cat and cow from this shape. Again, distributing the weight on all surfaces of the feet. And then we can inhale to curl the tailbone up, finding our cow. And exhale to round into our cat. I'm doing 3 more like this, following your own breath. Inhaling, lengthen front body, and exhaling to lengthen the back. With the next inhale and exhale, you can come back to a stance or to a stand. And again, bringing any movement or motion that we had when we came up to our standing pose. And then landing into our mountain at the top of the mat whenever we're ready. We'll inhale to circle the arms up into the air. And we'll exhale to sit into our chair. We'll take one inhale here. And then we'll exhale to find a soft twist over to the right. So right hand on the lower back, left hand just above the right knee. And take one inhale here. And then taking a big or many steps, we'll step back with the left leg. So to find that twist into a high lunge. And pressing into the feet. Engaging the core, maybe finding a bit more length and twist into the spine. Taking one more inhale here. And then exhale to return the torso to center, arms in the air. And inhaling here. And exhale to open out into a warrior 2. So landing back foot parallel to the short edge of the mat, maybe lining heel to heel. Adjusting the stance, checking in with the front knee that is tracking the second or third toe. And pressing into the ground, breathing here in this shape. And an option to stay or to flow with your breath for a few breaths. So we'll inhale to lengthen the front leg, bring palms together above the head. And exhale to land into our warrior 2. So doing this twice more, inhaling to lengthen up. And exhale to warrior 2. Inhaling to lengthen. Exhaling to land. And then we'll inhale to turn into face the front of the mat, finding our high lunge, so coming onto the ball of the left foot. And we'll exhale to frame the front foot, hands coming to the ground. Inhale here, and exhale to step back, finding our downward dog or finding our flow. So if we flow, we can inhale into our plank and exhale to find the ground. Inhaling to find our baby cobra and exhale to find the ground. We can inhale, push ourselves up and back into our downward dog. Taking a few breaths here to find motion or stillness. And finding one more full breath in this shape. You can inhale to bend the knees, looking between the hand. Exhale to take 2 big steps. And then inhaling and exhaling to find our forward fold. With the next inhale, we'll come all the way up to stand, circling the arms above the head. And exhale, hands down by our sides, fanning our mountain. We'll inhale to circle the arms up. And exhale to sit into our chair. Taking one more inhale here. And twist gently over to the left with the exhale. Taking one more inhale here. And then exhaling to slowly step that right foot back. Finding our high lunge and gentle twist. Taking one more inhale here. And exhale to revolve back toward the front, lifting the arms up. And with our next exhale, we'll open out into our warrior 2 on this side. So adjusting the stance as needed. Bending into the front knee. Pressing the ground away from us, front big toe mount, and back at our edge of the back foot. Then the option to stay at the flow for a few breaths. So inhaling to lengthen the arms above the head. And exhale to sink into our warrior 2. I'm taking 2 more like this. Inhaling to come up. And exhaling to land. Inhaling to come up. And exhaling to land. With our next inhale, we can come onto the ball of the back foot, finding our high lunge on this side. Arms coming up into the air. We can exhale to frame the front foot. Again, inhaling to stay and exhaling to step back. Option to rest or to find your flow. And we'll all meet each other in a few moments into our downward dog. And finding 3 full breaths once we've arrived into our downward dog. With the next inhale, bending into the knees, looking up. And exhaling to step to the top of the mat. And then with your next exhale, finding your forward fold. Inhale to come all the way up to stand, curling the arms above the head. And exhale to land back into your mountain. And balancing onto the left leg. Keeping watch of our hips so that they stay in line with one another. With the next inhale, we'll lift the right knee toward the chest. And staying here and balancing. Or option to lengthen that right leg. So lengthening the leg, flexing the toe, feeling that hip flexor in the front of the thigh work. Woo! And letting your knee curl back when it's ready. And perhaps finding the ground for a breath with that foot. And then whenever you're ready, we can inhale that knee up again. And then open it out to the side, finding our figure four from our standing stance. So opening out that right knee, bring the outer edge of that foot just above the knee. Option to stay and to bring the hands together at heart center. Inhaling here. An option to exhale and find your chair onto your left leg. Spending a few breaths, maybe bobbing up and down, or finding that point of focus on the ground, allowing your seat to come closer to the ground. Thank you, left ankle. Then we can inhale to come back up, straighten that leg, lift the right knee toward the chest. And then exhale to extend that right leg behind us and then toppling into a warrior three. So hinging at the hips, breathing some strength and courage into that left calf. And then balancing and playing, perhaps the hands stay where they are. We can bring the arms out behind us or out in front of us. Taking a few breaths, experimenting and balancing. You can lift up and perhaps one last time bring that right knee toward the chest. And exhale to land into your mountain, relaxing the hands down. And again, bring any movement or finding stillness for a few moments on this side. Whenever we're ready, we'll prepare to move on to the other side. And I'll try to remember all the parts. I freestyle a little bit here. So balancing onto our right leg, maybe bring the hands onto the hips, and you can inhale to bring that left knee closer to the chest. And then staying here, or elongating that left leg, flexing the foot, pressing into the heel. Breathing with that sensation. Taking a rest to bring that left knee closer to the chest before opening it out to the side and finding our figure four, or finding rest if you need to. And then hands can come together, palm to palm at heart center. Then we can sink into our chair on the side, keeping the spine long, balancing onto that right foot, engaging the right glute and the back of the leg. And inhaling to come up, meet the chest. And whenever you're ready, elongating that left leg back and toppling and balancing and playing into a warrior three. So arms and join the party. Maybe bring a smile to our face. And coming back up, meet the chest one last time if that's available to us. And then exhale to find the ground with that left foot. Finding your mountain, or perhaps doing a bit of motion, or grabbing a sip of water. And from the top of the mat, yogi's choice, perhaps leaving the feet at hip width distance or bring the big toes together. We'll inhale to circle the arms up above the head. And then we'll exhale to sit into our chair. And then if it's available to us, we can sit and sink all the way down until our seat finds the ground. Maybe widening the feet. Bring the hands closer to us. And then finding our seat. Hello, hip flexors. And then from here, we can lean back and balance onto our sit bones. So maybe the hands stay at heart center. We open the arms out, like leading with the chest open as if someone is pulling onto our heartstring literally. And toes can stay on the ground. We can experiment and play and lengthen the legs one after the other. And here really focusing on keeping length into the lower back. So maybe keeping the torso and the knees close to one another. And taking a few breaths to experiment and to see how much rain we have into this shape. Taking one more breath where we are. And exhale, coming into a cross-legged and finding our seat. And then we'll push our seat. I realized I was way too close to the wall when I did that at first. So bring your seat about to the middle point of the mat. And then first, we can elongate the left leg in front of us, flexing the foot, and then bending that right knee. Bring the sole of the right foot into the inside of the thigh. And then here we'll land into the sits bone and focus on length into our lower back. So staying here, perhaps inhaling the arms up in the air. Or for me, to make sure I lead with the heart and hinge at the hips, I like to circle the arms back and come onto the fingertips. Kind of like really find length and shining that heart forward. So inhaling wherever you are. And then exhaling to hinge over at the hips. Maybe keeping this an active shape for tonight. Perhaps bring a little bit of bend into the knee. Except that allows for a little bit more range or ease into the hips. And perhaps here, reminding ourselves of our personal intention for our practice and breathing with it for the next breath or two. With the next inhale, we can come back up, lifting and coming back into that 90 shape. And leaving the legs as they are, we can bring our right arm behind us, so landing with the palm close to the seat. And next we'll be pressing ourselves up, so pressing our pelvis up into the air, and we'll be landing in the sole of the left foot and anchoring into that right lower leg. So whenever we're ready, pressing into our hand, landing with the sole of the left foot, you can come up and find that stretch into the left side body. So bring the left arm above and fingertips pointing toward the back of the room. And just breathing, maybe finding some sense of freedom with all this space we're creating. And taking one more inhale here. And then exhale to come back down and find the ground with our seat. And facing the front of the mat with the torso. Next, we'll switch legs and do this on the other side. So elongating the right leg, bending into the left knee, sole of the foot into the right thigh. So anchoring into our seat, finding length into the spine, especially into the lower spine. Arms can be up in the air or fingertips behind you. Take one more inhale here and exhale to fold over the hips. Finding that active stretch and forward fold. With our next inhale, we can inhale ourselves back up. Next, finding our left hand behind at the base of the spine, palm down. Whenever we're ready, we'll inhale ourselves to land with the right foot, lower left leg, and pressing the hips and the pelvis up. So inhaling ourselves into that long stretch and breathing here for a few moments. With your next exhale, whenever you're ready, returning the seat to the ground, torso facing forward. Next, you can elongate the legs, maybe lean back with the torso, maybe shaking the legs side to side and giving our hip flexors or any body part that are speaking to us a little bit of a rest or wiggle or extension. And some of you are on your back already, and if we're not there, we'll join you. So maybe bending the knees and soles of the feet on the ground, we can slowly roll down, maybe holding on to the back of the neck. And then letting the knees travel toward the chest. And finding stillness here, maybe rocking side to side for a few breaths. And then landing here, first we'll bring the sole of the left foot onto the ground and we'll open out that right leg into a figure 4 shape. So our more relaxed version than when we were standing. So flexing the right foot, encouraging the right knee away from us. Option to stay here or to let the legs lift and come toward the chest. Hands maybe resting onto the outside of the legs. Or we can tread and interlace the fingers behind the left thigh in front of the left shin. And just breathing with this stretch for the next few moments. And releasing that shape, landing with both feet onto the ground, and we'll move into figure 4 onto the other side. So opening out and resting that left foot onto the right thigh, flexing the toes, encouraging the left knee away. Staying here or inhaling the legs closer to us and holding on to wherever feels comfortable. Releasing the legs and returning both feet to the ground whenever you feel balance. We'll come into a gentle twist on the right side. So opening the arms out into a T shape, palms facing up or down. You can inhale the knees into our chest, finding length into the back body, and then exhaling the knees over to the right. And then adjusting or pressing into that right hand so we can land that left shoulder onto the ground. And head can gently roll over to the left. And we'll breathe here for a few moments. Relaxing the body and allowing it to receive this stretch and this opening. Taking 3 more full breaths on this side. Returning the head to center. And engaging the core to return the knees back to center. Maybe readjusting the hips so that they're in line with the shoulders and moving on to the left side whenever you're ready. Connecting the right shoulder to the ground. Moving the head fall over to the right. And breathing here together for a little bit. Taking 3 more full breaths on this side. And slowly returning everything back to center. And taking the next few moments to find an additional pose that your body may be craving. Maybe just letting your body decide. And I'll support you here in silence while you find that shape. Whenever you're ready, transitioning into a final shape of your choice. You can fully relax, completely at ease. Softening the body. Softening the breath. And softening the mind. And I'll bring you back with my voice. It's time for us to close. Mm. 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 Taking 3 more full breaths. And slowly deepening the breath, inviting some gentle movements back into the body. And taking the next few breaths, stretch, curl, to find a comfortable shape that we can come together and close our practice. And once we find that shape, allowing the lower body to anchor into the ground, inviting some ease and length into the spine, shoulders, neck, and head. Perhaps bringing the hands together at heart center, pressing our thumbs into our chest, perhaps bowing the head in a gesture of gratitude for everything that's allowed us to practice tonight. Whenever you feel complete, releasing the hands, and turning the head back to center. I'd like to invite us to take a few breaths, send out our gratitude to one another. Breathing in and out for Yasser. Breathing in and out for Siobhan. Breathing in and out for Lee. Breathing in and out for Jen. Breathing in and out for Marie. Breathing in and out for Alex. Long, full, slow breaths in and out for all our community. you so much for sharing your time and your energy with me and with one another. So there's slow flow practice. It was my honor and privilege to guide us tonight.